Hey guys, Dre Avent here with a guy that sports fans know very well, especially in the NBA circles. He made his impact as a player and as a coach. Lionel Hollins, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Great, great. I really appreciate you coming out today. So thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
I need to get into it right away about the Nets and the situation there, their decision to part ways with you. What was your reaction to hearing that news initially?
Obviously, anytime you're fired, there's a disappointment, there's shock, surprise, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, I always look at it from this perspective. The people that pay all the money, they have the right to do what they want, and
Hmm.
they try to decide they want to go a different direction. That's their prerogative.
Hmm.
When I came to the Nets as a head coach, there were assistant coaches that were already there under contract, and they all had to go
Hmm.
for me to bring my own people in. So that was my prerogative, and it's just a part of life. As I tell the players, you have uh, ups and downs,
Hmm.
and you have things that aren't something that you would want to have happen to you, but it happens, and you got to deal with it and be mature and move on. I was
Hmm.
thankful for the opportunity to have the time that I had there and to continue the coaching, which I love to do. And they chose to make a decision that said that,
Hmm.
they didn't want me around anymore, and that's cool.
After the news dropped, I looked on a lot of the message boards and fans were really supporting you, saying, they felt you got a raw deal. They were really rooting for you. So overwhelmingly, I would say what I saw was about 70% of fans were sticking behind you. What do you think about the word scapegoat in relation to what happened to you?
Well, we live in a society where, you know, every time something goes wrong, there has to be a blame.
Hmm.
We live in a very sue happy society, for lack of a better term. And not just in sports, but in all walks of life. Somebody's got to be at fault for whatever negative happened.
Hmm.
You go to Starbucks and you drink that coffee that's too hot, and you get to sue
It's your
Starbucks.
fault. It's the barista's
Exactly.
fault. Yeah.
But my thing is this: it's nice to have the fan support, and I always look at it from this people thing perspective. The people that know sports and know who you are, they know what you've tried to do and what you try to accomplish, and they understand every situation. And there's some people who don't,
Hmm.
and there's some people who just like you because of the way you do things, and there's people that don't like you because of the way you do things.
Hmm.
And that's part of life too. Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to like how you do
Absolutely.
things. So
I know that.
you just go and do what you do and do it to the best of your ability. And when it's over, and you move on. I don't even get into the fans that like me or dislike me
Okay.
on either side. I mean,
Hmm.
it's nice when somebody tells me that, but it doesn't make me, you know, crazy when somebody tells me about the people that say the other way.
Right,
I
because
mean,
there's always going to be two sides on every
of course.
situation. So, what is your message to the fans that have supported you, that want to see you coach again, and that are wondering, is he going to coach again, or is he done with this thing? What do you want to say to them?
Well, I want to say that, thanks for your support, and
Hmm.
hopefully, if somebody gives me another opportunity, that I will be coaching again. I think I'm still young enough, energetic enough, mobile enough. I mean,
Right?
I still stand up and walk around, and
Yep.
I don't think that I'm done. But if it is, it is, and I'll move on to some other phase of my life. But I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the understanding of what I try to do with not just the young men toward the team and winning, but the young men toward trying to help them to be better men, to
Hmm.
grow up and not be the same person at 20, at 30 when they about to leave the league that they were at 20 coming in, but to teach them all things, not just
Hmm.
uh, maturity. That's a big part of it, but responsibility about how to take care of your family, what your purpose is in life, and where you need to go and what
Hmm.
direction you need to go. I try to make them think. I try to give them a lot to think about.
Hmm.
I've been known to give books to players, and
Nice.
I'm not the guru like Phil Jackson is.
Right?
Uh, but I just believe I like Phil Jackson and I like his way of doing things. And I
Hmm.
think there are a lot of coaches that do that. I think the coaches that, as a coach, we have a responsibility to the young men
Hmm.
that we have charge of to help them to grow. If I were a college coach, my
Hmm.
job would be to take those kids from that adolescent period and bridge them to adulthood away from their parents. When you're with your parents up until
True.
17, 18 years old, they've given you a foundation. It's still, a little shaky, hasn't dried yet. And when you go to college, there has to be somebody else that bridges that gap from there to adulthood.
Hmm.
And then in the pros, you're getting kids that are now young adults, but haven't lived, don't have the experience. And my responsibility is to help them grow and understand what living is really about. You know, some people think it's just the fame and the fortune, endorsements, being on TV and having everybody love you, which that's not true. But, you know, there's people that live for that. And I think that, you know, the more that I can help them understand that, you know, there's a legacy that they have to honor, that there's a lot of people that come before them that made this possible for them to be in this sport, to do what they do and love and get paid a lot of money for it. But you had to go out and honor, one, your gift from God, two, the legacy of the people, not just the sports figures that play, but also all black people who've come along and suffered and denied opportunity and fought for these opportunities so we can have them. Every generation, it gets better. And it seems like, you know, my job and any coach's job is to help these young men understand what it was like and never forget it. And how are you honored? You go out and you give 100%. You know, you have a respect for the game. You hold yourself accountable. You hold your teammates accountable. All those types of things are important. And how you carry yourself off the court, you know. Anytime something bad happens to you, you can go out and bemoan the fact, and you can go out and badmouth everybody and say it's their fault and somebody else didn't do this. But it doesn't really matter. You have to look in the mirror yourself and see who you are and what you've done, what you didn't do. Well, you know, in any situation, I always self-evaluate and try to figure out, okay, how could I have done this better? Could I have treated this guy a little differently? Could I have been a little something over here, a little something over there, whatever it may be. And, you know, then you go forward.
I like how you peeled back some layers there. I think when people think about coaching, they think about the stat line, the wins, the losses, but you brought up some really good crux points about just developing these guys into men and helping them better their lives. What was the most gratifying thing about that aspect? That's something that people don't really talk about. That doesn't make the splashy headlines, but that's important. I liked how you brought that up.
Well, here's why it's important, is because the better the person, the better he's going to do his job.
True.
The more mature the person, the more responsible the person is, the more he holds himself accountable, the harder he works, the more consistent he works, the more competitive he is, which all comes with maturity, the better he's going to be as a basketball player. Now, if I'm just trying to put a guy who's immature in a position to succeed on the court, he's going to come up short because you need all of those things to be successful. We go through life, and the reason people aren't successful aren't always somebody else's fault. There's a lot of denying opportunities, and over time as an Afro-American, there's a lot of our ancestors have been denied the opportunity to just go get a regular job, to go get a degree, learn how to read at one point, live where you want, have the opportunities that are equal. So there are those, but there's times when you just are so immature and can't accept constructive criticism. You can't accept that you're not perfect. You can't accept that when somebody's talking to you, is not putting you down, is trying to help you grow. And those are maturity issues. And when you get to that level, when you can understand it, and as Popovich, Coach Popovich, one of my favorite coaches,
one of my first
he
coaches
says, get over yourself.
Yeah.
And he says they like to get players that have gotten over themselves, because once you understand what the big picture is, then you quit worrying about, well, you know, I only got 17 points and I should have had 18 points. One more point doesn't make you a better player. You know what I mean? One less point doesn't make you a worse player. But there's
I don't think a lot of people think of it that way, but that's true.
I've been to AAU games when my son was playing AAU, and I've sat up there to the parents, and I watched a game one night. They're winning by 40 points. The coach takes a kid out, and I hear a dad yell, man, put my son back in. He would have had 40 to 50 tonight. What difference does it make? Every college coach in there knows he's a great player.
Right?
He didn't have to get 50 to be known as a great player. What does all that mean? Win the game, help your teammates, and it doesn't matter how many points you get, because if you're doing that, people are going to recognize and want you on your team. On their team.
Very true.
If you're just a guy that can go out and score, you know, that only covers one aspect of the game. Winning takes a lot of different aspects, and it takes a lot of different roles, and it takes people coming together and accepting those roles and playing them to the max. And I say you can be a role player and be a star. Kurt Rambis for the Los Angeles Lakers during Showtime was one of the greatest role players. He just played his role. And people were coming to the games with his glasses, horn rimmed glasses on, and cheering for Kurt Rambis. It was fun to see.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman was a role player, became a star.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all through history. There are a lot of role players that have become stars because they do their job and they're unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing for the team, and the team has success. And when the team has success, everybody gets credit. When the team loses, everybody should get blamed.
Right, because it's a group effort.
It's a group effort.
Well said, Lionel. Well, still much more to come with Lionel Hollins. This guy's going to be on TV very soon, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his charity endeavors. Going to get into a little bit about philosophy and, of course, the 3-minute play with DA. Let's find out about his personality, so keep a lookout for part 2. Drea, Lionel.